Hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy Smith, and welcome to episode number 9 of the Rambler Podcast, where we have conversations with prominent alumni to highlight the success they have accomplished beyond their time at Prep or Villa. And we also have conversations with current faculty or staff members to let you get to know more about the people at Prep helping serve our students in the school. Today, we are thrilled to have Sonya Whitman here as a guest on the podcast. Sonya is the Vice President of Strategic Marketing and Communications here at Cathedral Prep, as well as the head coach for the men's and women's swim team. Sonya is originally from Bradford, Pennsylvania, where she was a member of the last graduating class of Bradford Central Christian High School in 2000. In 2004, she earned dual bachelor's degrees in business administration and advertising communications from Gannon University while swimming and playing water polo for the Knights. She continued her education at Syracuse University's S.I. Newhouse School of Public Communications and earned a Master's of Science degree in Public Relations in 2005. She also played on Syracuse's first club water polo team, earning first team all-conference honors in the CWPA New York Club Division. Upon returning to Erie, she worked in the marketing department at St. Vincent Health System for 7 years and then served as practice manager for Hurdle and Brown Physical Therapy for 10 years, managing the marketing and human resources departments. As of May of this year, 2022, Sonya began working here at Cathedral Prep as the Vice President of Strategic Marketing and Communications. Now, regarding her coaching background, Sonya's past coaching experiences include 6 seasons with the Villa Maria Elementary School swim team and 3 years as the head coach there. She also served as the head coach of the Fairview Recreation Authority's Finn Swim Club for 2 years. In 2006, she started a club water polo team at Fairview High School, coaching there for 7 seasons and eventually taking the team to varsity level status in the 2011-2012 school year. Whitman enters her 12th year this season as the swim coach for the girls' teams and her first as the head coach of the boys' teams. She led the women's program to 2 PIAA team state championships in 2019 and 2021 and a third-place finish in 2022. The women's medley relay team has won state gold for 4 consecutive years, along with a gold medal for the 200 freestyle relay team in 2018. During her career, several swimmers have earned All-State Honorable Mention, and Academic All-American honors. All of the current school records have also been set under her guidance. Over the past 6 years of Whitman's career, the team has won Region 3 and District 10 championship titles every single year. And a little fun fact as well about Sonya is that in August 2007, she completed a 26.5-mile swim across Lake Erie in 14 hours and 9 minutes, making her at the time the fastest woman to ever complete the swim. She's married to her husband Brad and lives in Erie with her 2 children, Jack, who's 13, and Brooke, who's 5. So, Sonya, all that to say, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, and in preparing for the podcast, knowing that you're involved with the swim teams and then as well as, in the school in the communications department, I wanted to make sure I highlight to everybody your background and your successes both, academically, you can see through college and then, your career, and then also in swimming as well. I mean, you've done a lot and accomplished a lot.
Well, thank you. I think you've said it all. I think that's probably all we need to talk about then, right?
Maybe the swim, we can comment on that.
Oh,
Holy cow. Can you
yeah.
share a little quick thing on how that even came about for you and swimming across Lake Erie?
Yeah, so it's funny because people always ask, why did you do it? And I basically always have the same answer, and it's just because I could.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, I was always looking for challenges, as I graduated from high school and then continuing to swim and play water polo in college and then in grad school. And then after that, I started doing triathlons, and it was just always, what's the next challenge?
Wow.
What's the next challenge? And finally, the year before I did the swim, one of my friends completed the swim, and I was like, I can do that. And I just felt like that would be the one thing that was like overcome the biggest challenges possible and really be an accomplishment I could be proud of for the rest of my life and really hang my hat on. And never regretted it for 1 second.
Yeah.
Talking about it, my shoulders still get a little bit sore sometimes.
Oh my gosh, I bet.
Yeah, but it's just an awesome story to be able to tell my grandkids. My husband Brad, who was just my fiance at the time, was a part of it, and it's an awesome story for us to share. So
well, it's just shares a little bit about who you are, right, in terms of big accomplishments and doing things like that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's always nice to be able to remind my swimmers, when they think, oh, this is so hard, you don't know how bad it is, and I'm like, oh, but I do.
Right, exactly.
Did you ever swim across the lake? No, okay, and they keep going. So
that's all you need to say, right?
That's right. You can use that forever.
That's awesome. So how did you end up getting to Villa? How did you start coaching at Villa?
Because Bill Flanagan is relentless. He actually approached me the year my son Jack was born. I was coaching water polo in Fairview, and they were in need of a swim coach, and water polo is in the fall, swimming is in the winter, and he was asking me about that particular current season. And like I said, I had just had my son Jack, and I was trying to figure out how to balance working, coaching, and being a mom. So I just kind of said, no, not yet, thank you. And then the following year he asked again. And the fact that, coaching a swim team was a little bit more, it was a varsity sport, and it was, sanctioned by the school, whereas water polo in Fairview was club still. And I was really, I kind of did everything from soup to nuts as far as scheduling tournaments and travel and budgeting and all of that. And this was a little bit less work on the administrative side to coach swimming at Villa, and a little bit more working with the kids and doing the actual coaching part, which is what I love. So that's kind of the reason that I made the switch over. That first year I did still coach water polo in the fall and swimming in the winter, which was really hard too, because we swim against Fairview.
Oh my gosh,
so I was coaching swimmers who were swimming against girls that I coached water polo with that same season. So, but the kids are all good, every family was supportive and everything, so it was an easy transition.
Now, did you always see yourself getting into coaching?
I did not. I just was talking to somebody about this the other day, and how, I kind of helped at Little Villa when it was still in existence, when I was still in college, and then when I came back from grad school. And it was always just something to do as kind of a little bit of a side job. Sure. And then I, really started to enjoy it a lot more. And this will come full circle in a little bit here, but Bill Morosky, who was a coach in Fairview at the time, and I used to swim with him when I was training for my swim across Lake Erie. He would swim at Nautilus in the mornings and see me, and we got to know each other. And he is the one that asked me to start a water polo program in Fairview, because his daughter Lauren was interested in it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into high school coaching, and how I kind of fell in love with it, and started to really like being able to work with the kids on a higher level of skill development and technique, and challenging them, as opposed to getting in the water and teaching kids how to swim. I had a little bit more of an interest in taking them to the next level. So that's kind of where that started. That's
pretty cool. And I'm sure you've had, countless stories of kids that you've worked with over the years, and you see them go on and do great things. And I'm sure that part of it can feel pretty rewarding, right? Working their lives. I guess, having said that, what has been some of the most, rewarding aspects of coaching for you in your career so far?
So the most rewarding parts are obviously seeing the kids improve, best times, and winning, gold medals at states and all that stuff is really fun. But when it comes to, the most personally fulfilling and rewarding moments, it's probably, the things that happen kind of off the cuff. So, for example, there's one parent that I run into all the time. Her daughter was a junior my first year I was coaching. And every time I see her, so now 10 some years later, she always says, my daughter always still says that you were her favorite coach she ever had. And, and then I got a text message from another girl over the summer who graduated 2 or 3 years ago, and she just said, hey, I did an internship at Goldman Sachs in Chicago over the summer, and I just wanted you to know that the way that you taught me how to, hard work and determination and prioritize things that are important, and that all just helped me so much. And for somebody to say, that was a really good one. That was, one of those ones where, the things that I've taught them impact their professional lives and how they're moving forward. And it's stuff like that makes me really remember why I do this and why I keep doing it, even though there's days that it gives me gray hair. There's always definitely a good reason to continue.
Well, and kudos to you and all the coaches here at Prep, and just in general coaching. And it's a lot of hours, a lot of time usually not the most pay in the world when you're, compared to other things you could be doing.
Oh yeah, don't break it down hourly. Don't break it down hourly.
And it's just amazing, it's just a great testament to that level of passion you do have for not just your sport, but the kids and helping them. And little moments like you just mentioned probably make it go a long way for your time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's, those things are rewarding, but then there's also the more obvious moments, like, the first time we beat McDowell, the first time we, won District 10, the first time we win a gold medal, the first state championship. And those are things that I never in my wildest dreams imagined would happen.
Yeah.
And so it speaks a lot to the culture that kind of develops and the kids that help carry it along, too.
Yeah. And so in your coaching career, I read off in your bio in the beginning there a lot of the accomplishments as of late, but what do you see as one of the most successful moments you've had as a coach, and what would you say to that?
It's kind of just the things I mentioned, you know, it's that first time we beat McDowell, which I think was I looked it up, so it's like 2013, I think. So, and it had been decades since Villa had beat McDowell. So that was huge, that was my first, bath I took when the kids pushed me in the water at the end of a meet. And then winning District 10 for the first time, beating Fairview, who had won it so many years in a row. That was huge. And then, we haven't lost it since then. The first time was 2016. And then you can see the picture that I look at every day on my bookshelf of me jumping up and down into Leah Preshak's arms because that was the first gold medal that we had ever won in the medley relay. So those are the things that are really stand out.
And that's exactly what I was thinking too, is that, when you talk about a lot of the early victories and stuff, like a program that maybe in a couple decades really didn't succeed as well as could have been done with the expectations. How are you think you're able to take in your background and come to this program and really turn it around? What you've done and accomplished in this past decade or so now, all the accolades that I've mentioned with the team success and swimmers, how do you think that you were able to shift that culture and do that?
Well, to be honest, I just brought in values and attitudes that I've been taught by my family, by coaches that I've had in the past, and I try to take the best parts of what I've learned and what I feel helped me be the most successful, and try to share those with the girls. So it's discipline and structure and hard work and being there not to just go through the motions, but to really give 110% effort every opportunity you get. So just trying to instill those values in the girls, and I've been lucky enough to have awesome swimmers and awesome families who support that vision and those attitudes from home and in school. They get all that stuff is reinforced by their family at Villa, by their family at home, by their families here now at Prep, and it's just been, I've been blessed with really, really good kids that buy into that and understand that that hard work really leads to success.
Would you say that ties in with like a leadership and coaching philosophy that you have? Is your expectations you place on those swimmers that you have?
Absolutely, and I try to be very clear with that from the beginning, as what the expectations are. Like, you're not here to go through the motions. You're wasting my time and your time if that's the only reason that you're here. You're here to get better, or it's a waste of your time and mine. Like, let's be here for a reason. We're spending time together. You got to make sure that you're living outside your comfort zone. Like, things are not going to change if you're just doing the same thing you've always done. You're only going to get better when you're uncomfortable, and trying to really get them to understand that things don't just happen. These things don't just, you don't just get better because you're here and you show up. You have to be present. One of the things that I did the past couple of years is I always had the kids write a quote on our whiteboard where I write the workout. I put that, they pick a quote to put out before swim practice starts. And one of my favorite ones was, "Be where your feet are." And that just kind of reminds them, okay, I don't need to worry about my state championship final race right now. Like, I need to focus on what I'm doing the here and now and making sure that I'm putting in every ounce of effort I can into this moment so that I'm not wasting any of them.
So good. I think it's such a great idea too, to pull on quotes that your swimmers can look back on throughout the year. And that's one of the reasons why I've always been so supportive of kids being involved in some type of sport or activity. That when you have a great coach like yourself who's encouraging those values, that's what leads to, years down the road, you get a text like you did from the one, swimmer that you had about a professional career accomplishment, something that they learned swimming with you.
Yep.
And why those things are so important, and obviously why the success that you've had in the pool can help these players translate to out in the real world too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so let's say there's a kid listening to this podcast now, and maybe they're a swimmer, or somebody wants to be successful in a sport or whatever. What's one piece of advice that you could give somebody to be an excellent swimmer, to excel in this sport?
I always just say swimming is so much a mental sport. And I mean, that comes right down to being very obvious with me thinking, well, I can swim across the lake, so why don't I just do it? We're a little bit crazy. We have a different kind of view and perspective. And so I think that if a swimmer can develop and build their own confidence, that's a huge part of swimming. Swimming is absolutely 90% mental. I tell the kids all the time, there's no secret formula for me to put up on the board to make you swim magically faster than anybody else. You have to believe in yourself. And, obviously there's things that we do to work on technique and making them stronger. And there's a certain structure to the way a season goes and the workouts go. But when it comes down to it, it's often, who wants it more, who believes in themselves more, who can dig a little bit deeper. And that's all mental. So I think that building your own confidence and, giving yourself a pat on the back for the little victories here and there, those are huge in, taking yourself to the next level. And then another thing is that you just can't, I've said it before, you have to live outside your comfort zone. If you want to get better, and you have to take advantage of every single minute of practice, every single opportunity of somebody who wants to help you, every little piece of advice, and take that from all angles. And that's why we have a complete staff of coaches, and that's why we have an amazing strength and conditioning coach with Brandon Richardson. He's been a huge part of not only helping our kids get stronger, but also helping them develop their own mental toughness. And those are the things that, kids need to take advantage of. Every single person that wants to help them and, genuinely help them, not there for themselves. Like most of us do this because we want to see the kids get better. We see the potential in them, and they need to see that potential in themselves first.
That's some really good stuff in there. And I want to go back to when you were talking about confidence. It was a little bit off the cuff question for you. Did you have moments in your career in swimming where you either weren't confident swimmer and you remember a breakthrough moment that really got you over the hump of being, Sonya Whitman, that, champion swimmer? Or did you always kind of have this just confidence when you're in the water and it just translated into you just grew that as time went on?
I think that it just kind of grew as time went on.
Yeah.
I remember getting nervous before meets, but then I would also I have 3 older brothers who are, they were fantastic athletes in and of themselves, and they just were constantly like, well, why don't you just swim faster? Why don't you just they're just they constantly put the challenge back on me, like you're better than this, or you can work harder, or you can beat that person, and why not? In their mind, it was always just the why not the what if. It was always the why not me. And I've used that mentality with my girls a lot too. When they start getting worried about things, it's like, okay, well, why can't today be your day? Who cares what somebody else is doing? Control what you can control, and why not have it be you today? And I think that's just something that built for me over time, and especially as I got older and in college, and you take on a leadership role within the team, and being a captain or whatever that is, you have to set a better example and a good example for the younger kids. And if that's something you can do to just show them that confidence is something that really helps, then you almost talk yourself into it, whether it's there or not. You got to put on you got to put on the face, and when it's game time. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Then I'll transition a little bit to swimming for this coming season, right? We talked earlier about how you're going to be leading up the boys and the girls team this year for the first time for the boys, under your leadership, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little about some of the staff for your teams and how that will kind of shake out?
Sure. So I mentioned earlier this would come a little bit full circle, but Bill Morosky, who I mentioned, asked me to help start a water polo team in Fairview because he was coaching there at the time. When he was done coaching there, Coach Doyle, who was previously the boys coach, snagged him up to help with the prep boys. And the boys and the girls have practiced together since the event center's been built. So as far as practice schedule goes, that doesn't change a whole lot for me. I'm not actually going to be at the pool for 4 hours instead of 2. Now I do still have a family. But Bill is going to stay on and help coach. He has just been a fantastic, mentor for the kids. He's somebody that they look up to. He brings a different perspective when it comes to different technique and skill work. He brings a lot of that, what I talked about, more of the mental training and helping build their confidence. And he's just been fantastic. So he's great to stay on and help too, which is great. I'm more than thrilled to have him. And he also, and I mentioned his daughter Lauren was one of the kids that was on the first team that I coached for water polo in Fairview. And I've asked her to join the staff this year,
Awesome.
and I'm so excited to have her. She always reminded me a lot of me, and was always one of the hardest workers, and she seems really excited to be on staff, so I'm really excited to have her. I also have Kenzie Schley, who I think she was in my first, she swam for me at Villa, and I think she was in my first 9th through 12th grade class. So she was a freshman when I started, and then, so she was one of the first ones that I saw all the way through, and she's living in Erie. She swam club at Slippery Rock, and she's living in Erie now, so she's going to be helping us out a little bit. And then we also have Rex Riley, who's another prep grad from 2016, and he was a fantastic breaststroker and, a state medalist, and he swam at Notre Dame, so he's going to bring a lot of big wealth of knowledge to the staff too, which I'm really excited about. And then I have Bridget Shames, who is a friend of mine. She graduated from Villa in 98, and I've been begging her to help me for years, and now I finally guilted her into it.
There you go.
And then Emily Farrar, who is also a Villa grad, and her daughter Alexis is a freshman on the team this year. And I believe that Emily and Bridget were actually on the same relay team when they swam together at Villa. So we're bringing the gang back together, which is nice. So I'm really excited. It's a great group. Everybody seems really excited, and Coach Doyle and I have worked together for so long that it's always been he and I on deck, and we work really well together, and it was nice. We could always rely on each other. We knew one or the other was going to be there. So now, something comes up. I do have kids. I do have a job.
Sure.
So it's I needed to make sure that I had a really well developed assistant coaching staff before I took on the boys position, and I was able to get all these great people. So now I know I have at least one person on deck with me every day. We've got the schedule all worked out. So I'm really excited.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, it seems like you guys got a nice staff that you put together. A lot of good expectations, I'm sure, for the team going into this season. What are you guys as a team looking forward to the most this coming year?
I always look forward to, it's hard to think about it now, but you always look forward to the end of the season and seeing the time drops and seeing the reaction from the kids when they do something they never thought they could do. Those are always the big, brightest moments. But just looking forward to, get relationships with the kids and making those memories. And, I graduated 8 senior girls last year. So the girls team, and I was worried. I didn't think I was going to get a ton of freshmen, but I actually got 7 freshmen, and then we have a transfer student as well. So we're right back up numbers-wise where we were. So I'm really excited. A lot of, good potential in those younger classes, and one of the biggest freshman classes I've had in a while too. So that's looking bright for the future. But I do still have a lot of really good talent coming back, and some sophomores and juniors and seniors who are looking to do some pretty big things. So that's good. As far as the boys team goes, they're coming off a state championship from last year. They graduated a couple of really key players from that team as well, but have a lot of really good talent coming back. So, and a couple of freshmen who are going to be able to, we're going to be looking to them to step up a little bit and fill in some big shoes. But I think that they have every opportunity to do it again. It's just going to be, again, you got to put in the work to get there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they have a great leader in you, and I'm excited to hear about, that, like you said, end of the year, as this time drops, results are coming in. That's very exciting. So now we're going to try to transition. So we were talking a lot about swimming and everything. We're going to transition a little bit, talk about your position here at the school, which you started back in May. And what a great opportunity to come now and not just coach and be a part of the Prep Villa, now Prep culture, but now also be on staff. And how's it been going so far?
Great.
Yeah.
It's been a true blessing. Right time, right place. I feel like I was really being called to this position. I was actually kind of looking for a position at the time, and when it opened, I just was, I had been in and out of interviews for some other positions, and this opened, and I just felt like, wow, thank you, God. Like, that was, you just handed me, the absolute perfect opportunity. Since I've joined the Villa family, 12 years ago, I've been welcomed with open arms, and I felt like this is really home to me. The families have been great. All the administration that I've worked with has been great, and I just was really thrilled to be more of a part of, this place and the people here, because it's always, like I said, felt like home. Product of 16 years of Catholic education.
Yeah.
And, I believe in Catholic education. My family has always believed in Catholic education. My mother sacrificed so that I could go to Catholic schools, and it's just, it really couldn't have been a better opportunity for me at the time.
And how awesome now you get to be a part of the mission of the school to advance it in this capacity that you're in.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah.
So exciting. What led you to study marketing and communications?
So I actually started in psychology.
Okay.
I knew that I didn't want to go into the medical field. My mother was a nurse. I can't do the blood and guts. That's her job. And I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't have the patience to be in a classroom with kids. So, which is nice. On the pool deck, I can yell at them.
Yes,
it's totally
right.
acceptable.
There you go.
So
yeah,
that's
you're fine there.
So I just started with psychology, and then realized that maybe that wasn't necessarily for me. I switched over to business administration because I do like math. So I was starting to go the accounting route, which I really enjoyed. And then I hit income taxes and said, nope, this is not for me. And then I took an intro to marketing class and just fell in love with it. I had Ian O'Neill was my professor, and then I had her, I think, pretty much for 2 classes per semester so that I could finish on time, since I had switched my major a couple of times. So she and I got to be very close, and I actually taught a public speaking class for her at Gannon a couple semesters ago. So she was a big part in, helping me make that understanding that it was something, which, there is a little bit of an element of psychology to marketing, and learning how to talk to people and read people, and which transfers to coaching very well also. And so when I was taking all of the marketing classes, I took an intro to public relations class as well, which definitely I had a more of a narrowed, targeted interest in, which is what led me to then go to Syracuse, because my master's is in public relations. They have their communication school has several different genres. So there's broadcast journalism, there's media, and all different things. And they had their smallest program is public relations, and they only take 15 people per year. So I was really like, well, we'll wing it. We'll see what happens here. So I think that Gannon and Syracuse actually have a pretty decent relationship, because there was actually 2 of us from Gannon that got accepted into that same program.
Yeah.
So so that's how I got there, and I loved it. And it was a 1-year program. So it was nice. I knew I didn't want to get a job yet, but I also didn't want to go to school for 2 or 3 more years to get my MBA. So this 1-year program was intense, which is something, you need to get used to in kind of the communications world. But it was also just really, really full of great experiences and hands-on work and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it, and ended up sticking with it.
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah. What is your job involved? What's your responsibilities for the school?
So I'm responsible for basically making sure that the communication is consistent. So in taking on this position, obviously I talked before about how I like a challenge. And so this obviously presented a really nice challenge from the start, with all of the rebranding that was happening and the consolidation. And so, there was obviously happy people, not so happy people. And, it was a matter of the rebranding had already been done. So it was my job to get to communicate it, and, not really having control over the message that was going to be sent out, trying to make sure that, it was sent out consistently, and that we were just staying strong with all of our messaging across all channels. And so that was the biggest challenge to start. And really, since I've started, I've hit the ground running. There's been no really downtime, because there were a lot of events to publicize and really get the community excited about all the great things that were happening here. So a lot of media relations, so reaching out to the media and making sure that they come and see what's going on here and share with the public all the great stuff that's going on. Social media. I do have Chris Bledgy, who works for me, who's the director of strategic communication, has been fantastic. He's been here for quite a while. So with this being a brand new position, he's really helped me, just kind of, this is what we've done in the past, this is how we usually do things, or here's what I think is good. And he's got a really great perspective from, an historical perspective on, what's good for the school and what isn't, and what's worked and what hasn't. So he's really been a blessing as I'm trying to define this role moving forward. One of the other biggest projects that we've done since I got here was the magazine. And so, that was kind of like, okay, here, marketing gets to do this. Okay, let's let's roll with it. So that's been really fun. Like, this is the stuff I went to school for. My last position, I was doing a lot of HR work, and this is back to what I really enjoy, and it's writing, and it's communicating, and it's, working with different audiences and finding out the best way to connect with them. So it really has been very busy, which is great because it's work I love doing. So I don't mind spending the extra hours or the extra time or going the extra mile to, to do a little background research or whatever the case may be.
Right. So in your opinion, with the marketing communications department, how important is that to the overall success of the school, and why, would you say?
Well, obviously right now it's super important. There's just so much going on, and we don't want to miss telling everybody about every great thing that's happening here. When it comes to the students, when it comes to the faculty and staff, the sports teams, the theater program, everything, all of the new facilities, like there's everywhere you look, there's just something fantastic going on.
Yeah.
And I think that those things really need to be communicated to our current constituents, and they need to be communicated to potential constituents. For me, I really appreciate that Mr. Smith, our new president, places a lot of value on making sure that marketing and communication is its own separate entity, and that it really is a piece and a part of enrollment efforts and advancement efforts and internal efforts. Because if you don't have one central, department or person who is essentially filtering all of these things and making sure that the same verbiage and same messaging is going out, things get confused and people get lost and people don't get the message. And so I think that it's just, in order for us to, remain successful and make sure that everybody people want to support this place and people want to come here, they need to know how great it is. And I think that that's exactly what the marketing department is for.
Absolutely. And if anybody listening to this doesn't already follow us on any of our social media pages, or you don't get our emails that we send out to alumni or constituents, definitely look us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, everything. And if you want to get on the email list, reach out to Sonya, sonya.whitman@cathedralprep.com.
Yep.
Let her know you want all the communication to be sent to you. She'll get all the information set up to you, because you guys do such a great job of communicating as much as you can on behalf of the school. Because there's so much going on and so many great things the students are doing here.
Right, and that's true. It's hard to keep up with all of it sometimes, and there are days where we could post 8 different things on social media, but we try not to bombard people too.
Right.
So, like I said, Chris Bledgy, who's in charge of our social media, does a fantastic job of trying to make sure that we highlight everything and everybody, and give everybody their own 5 minutes of fame, as opposed to, our cross-country team won the state championship, and then 5 minutes later cover it up with, something else. We try to make sure that we're not overloading and that we give everybody their own, spotlight, because everybody is doing great things here. It's just, it's really exciting to be a part of. So.
Yeah, I would agree. Being here is an exciting time. There's definitely a lot of good things happening. And then in regards to looking forward to the future, what are some of your biggest goals within your department?
Well, basically, this is our first full school year with me being, with us having our own marketing department, separate from advancement. So really, it's just as we continue through all of these through this first school year, making sure that we, kind of further define what our role is and where we overlap with advancement, where we overlap with enrollment. It's, kind of defining those things and determining the right procedures for who does what when it comes to events, who does what when it comes to open house or the magazine or communication or media relations. And I think it's going to take probably a good year to kind of iron all those things out to find out what's most appropriate for everybody. So, obviously, just like I said, further defining the role and making sure that we are ensuring that the true mission of what the school is gets out into the community.
Right.
And then also on the other side of things, trying to expand into some different areas and trying to, now that there's a department committed to marketing and dedicated completely to marketing, trying to reach some of the audiences that we haven't been able to in the past. We have a good handle on how we reach some of our diocesan school kids, but, trying to get a little bit deeper with that. And then, trying to figure out how the best way to kind of study the market a little bit more and find where those pockets of people are that, might not think that they can afford a prep education, and try to explain to them that they can, or people who don't even know what the opportunities are here, and trying to help them understand that, oh wait, maybe that is the place for me, even if
Yeah.
I live, in the county or in Meadville or, not necessarily close, or even if I'm not a legacy family, like maybe still could be the place for me, and trying to do a little bit of market research and strategic planning and really figure out the best way to do those things.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, listening to you through this episode of the podcast, just in our conversation here, you got a lot on your plate, between this new position that you're, like you said,
yes.
You're figuring it out and you're kind of putting it together and still learning a lot while you're
Yeah.
still advancing a lot of your efforts. And then also swimming, now you're
Yeah.
taking on the boys teams
Yep.
and you're already on top of a very successful girls team. So, but I don't doubt for a second that, you got a good handle on things. You're moving in the right direction. I'm very, very, when I heard when it was announced that you were hired to come work here, I was very excited because having known you from when I was the manager at the event center,
Yep.
I just knew that you were the right person for the position.
Oh,
so
thanks,
yeah,
Jamie. It helps too that then I could be in the building with the kids too.
Yeah.
I was just saying, if I hear Mr. Herbstreit will announce somebody, please come to the office, and I'll be like, that's a swimmer. What's wrong? What did they do?
What did they do?
But it's nice to be here, and I like to be involved with them, and it's nice to be in the school and really I try to lead by example. So for them to see me at Mass and, trying to understand how you make faith a really important part of your life, and that helps, spread into everything else, that just, it's nice for them to be able to just be in all aspects of their life.
Yeah.
I don't know if they like it, but I do.
Whether they like it or not, you'll be there.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And maybe get an email afterwards. Why did Mr. Herbstreit call you down?
Yep, you got it. Yep.
That's funny. No, well, thank you so much for your time,
Sure.
coming on the podcast. It was fun being able to talk to you about your past experiences and what's led you to be here. Very excited about the future for the swim program under your leadership, the direction of the school under your leadership, and just want to thank you for serving the school in the capacities you are.
Thanks, Jimmy. It's a blessing and an honor to be here. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited about it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Sonya.
Thank you.
Well, hey, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the podcast featuring Sonya Whitman. It was really great having a chance to chat more with her about her efforts in leading the swim program now for the boys and girls here at Prep, and then as well about her position overseeing the marketing and communications aspect of the school, and look forward to the great things that she's going to be able to do for our school through these programs. Stay tuned. The next episode of the podcast will be released on December 5th. That'll be episode 10, and it's going to feature Judge John Trusilla. Judge John Trusilla is a member of the Cathedral Prep class of 1978, and we have a really, really great conversation to share with you where we're going to talk about his time at Prep, but then we're also getting into a lot of good leadership content. He's a very, very accomplished person in his career professionally, and he's got some really great things to be able to share with us that I know will benefit us all as listeners to the podcast. So thanks so much, everyone. God bless, and roll Ramblers.